My son-in-law didn't know I owned $1.2 billion worth of shares in the company that was about to fire him. To him, I was just Nathan Pierce, 58-year-old retired construction worker living in a beat-up ranch house, easy to ignore, cheap to dismiss. He loved that story. Then, one Thursday evening, he called a family meeting with what he said was an intervention specialist. I agreed to come because I wanted to see just how far he'd go. 10 minutes into that meeting, when the fake specialist slid those guardianship papers across my kitchen table, the room went dead quiet. To understand why those papers were the last mistake Trevor would ever make, let me back up a few days. My name is Nathan Pierce, and at 58, I've learned that sometimes the most dangerous thing about an old blue-collar guy is what people assume they know about him. They see the work boots, the flannel shirts, the house that needs a new roof, and they write you off as yesterday's news. What they don't see is the structural engineer who spent 30 years calculating load-bearing capacities and stress tolerances, who knows exactly where to apply pressure to bring down the whole damn building. The foundation cracks started showing 3 weeks ago when I was fixing the back deck. My hearing's not what it used to be, but concrete work teaches you to feel vibrations through your bones. That's how I picked up Trevor's voice coming through Brooke's kitchen window next door. He was on a call, pacing around like he does when he thinks he's about to close a big deal. "No, the old man won't be a problem much longer," he was saying. "Trust me. By Christmas we'll have him in managed care, and the property freed up for development." I kept hammering deck boards, but my hands had gone steady in that way they do when structural integrity is compromised. When you're measuring foundation stability, emotion is just noise that throws off your calculations. So I tuned it out and listened to the data. Pierce Holdings is reviewing our firm for the infrastructure contract. Trevor continued. "Once we land that $800 million deal, we'll have enough capital to buy out half the neighborhood, starting with his little ranch house. Pierce Holdings. My company, the one I'd built from a single concrete truck after Sarah died, using her life insurance and every penny of savings we'd scraped together in 27 years of marriage. Started when I was 31, right after Brooke was born. The one that now employed 1,200 people across 4 states and held contracts for every major highway project west of the Mississippi." I set down my hammer and adjusted my wedding ring. Sarah's ring that I'd worn on my pinky since the day we buried her. The metal was warm from my body heat, smooth from 8 years of nervous fidgeting. Some habits keep you grounded when the structural analysis shows catastrophic failure ahead. Trevor was still talking. "The beauty is, nobody expects anything from a guy like him. Lives alone, no social connections, daughter's too busy with the pregnancy to pay attention. Perfect setup for elder abuse claims if he doesn't cooperate." Elder abuse. The words hit like a sledgehammer to concrete. This wasn't just about my house. This was about destroying my reputation, my relationship with Brooke, my ability to be part of my grandchild's life. Trevor was planning to paint me as a senile old man who couldn't take care of himself. My phone buzzed, text message from Brooke. "Dad, can you come over for dinner tomorrow? Trevor wants to discuss some family planning stuff." Family planning, right? The kind where they plan to ship the family patriarch off to storage while they liquidate his assets. I spent that evening in my workshop, running calculations, not the kind you do with numbers, but the kind you do with people, stress tests, load limits, points of failure. Trevor had made one critical error in his structural analysis. He'd assumed I was an isolated beam with no supporting framework. He had no idea I was the foundation holding up the entire building he was trying to demolish. The next morning, I called my attorney, Dustin Clark. We'd known each other since high school, back when he was planning to be a teacher, and I thought I'd spend my life swinging hammers. Life has a way of redirecting your load-bearing walls sometimes. "Dustin, I need you to pull some strings," I said. "Get me a recording of any phone calls made from Trevor Hayes' office in the last week, legal channels only." "Nathan, what's going on?" "My son-in-law is planning to have me declared incompetent so he can steal my house and put me in a nursing home. I need evidence." Dustin was quiet for a moment. "I'll make some calls, give me 2 hours." While I waited, I did something I hadn't done in months. I pulled out the financial reports from Pierce Holdings. Revenue up 18% from last year. The Henderson infrastructure project worth $800 million in the bidding phase, with Hayes, Martinez, and Associates as the front-runner for legal services. Trevor had no idea his entire career was hanging on a contract with a company I controlled through NP Capital, Nathan Pierce Capital. Sometimes the most important structures are the ones hidden underground, the foundations that nobody sees but that support everything above ground. That's what Sarah and I had built together. Not just a company, but a legacy that could support our family for generations. After she died, I'd lived simply not because I had to, but because I wanted Brooke to understand the value of work, the importance of character over cash. Dustin called back with more than I'd hoped for. I got the recordings. Nathan, this is bad, really bad. He's talking to someone about guardianship proceedings, about having you assessed for dementia. There's also conversations about property development, about turning your neighborhood into commercial real estate. Send me everything, I said. And Dustin, I'm going to need you to draft some papers. Termination of business relationships, breach of fiduciary duty, elder abuse documentation. The works. Nathan, are you sure about this? Once we pull this trigger, there's no going back. I looked out my workshop window at the house next door where my daughter lived with a man who was planning to destroy both our lives for money, I'm sure. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in 2 years. I put on my good suit. Navy blue, tailored, the one Sarah had insisted I buy for important business meetings. It still fit, though it felt strange after months of flannel and work boots. I drove to the Pierce Holdings headquarters downtown, past the construction sites where my crews were building the infrastructure that would outlast all of us. Kyle Bennett was waiting in the conference room when I arrived. He'd been CEO for 3 years now, ever since I'd stepped back from day-to-day operations. Good man, smart about business, loyal to the company Sarah and I had built from nothing. Nathan, good to see you, he said, standing up as I entered. It's been too long since you've been in the office. Kyle, I need to talk to you about Hayes, Martinez at Associates. His face shifted slightly. The law firm handling the Henderson contract. What about them? I pulled out my phone and played him the recordings Dustin had provided. Trevor's voice filled the room, talking about managed care, property development, elder abuse claims. Kyle's expression grew darker with each word. Jesus, Nathan. This is your son-in-law. Unfortunately, yes. And he's about to find out what happens when you threaten the wrong old man's family. We spent the next hour going over contracts, reviewing the legal relationship between Pierce Holdings and Hayes, Martinez at Associates. The firm had been courting our business for 2 years, ever since they'd heard we were expanding into infrastructure projects. They'd wined and dined our legal team, sent expensive gifts at Christmas, invited key employees to golf tournaments and charity events. What they didn't know was that every major decision at Pierce Holdings still went through me. I might live in a modest ranch house and drive a 10-year-old pickup truck, but I owned 51% of a company worth $1.2 billion. Kyle ran the day-to-day operations, but I controlled the strategic direction. What do you want me to do? Kyle asked. Pull the Henderson contract, immediately. Send the termination notice to Trevor Hayes personally, with copies to the senior partners. And Kyle, make sure they know exactly why they're being terminated. Elder abuse, attempted fraud, breach of professional ethics. Kyle nodded, already reaching for his phone. Consider it done. What about the other firms bidding on Henderson? Give it to Morrison and Associates. They've been straight with us from the beginning. I left the office feeling like I'd just reset a load-bearing beam that had been under too much stress for too long. The structure was sound again, at least on the business side. Now came the harder part, the family intervention that Trevor had planned for that evening. I stopped at the grocery store on the way home and bought ingredients for Sarah's pot roast recipe. If this was going to be my last meal, as just another old construction worker, I wanted it to be something that reminded me of better times. Sarah used to make that roast every Sunday after church, and the smell would fill our little house with warmth and the promise that everything would work out as long as we had each other. As I was browning the meat, my phone rang. Unknown number, Mr. Pierce. This is Dr. Lindsay Walsh from Senior Life Transitions. I believe we have an appointment this evening. That's right, doctor. Looking forward to meeting you. Excellent. I've reviewed your file, and I think we'll be able to help you transition to a more suitable living situation. The facility Mr. Hayes has selected is really top-notch. File. She had a file on me. Trevor had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. Building a case, collecting evidence, preparing his attack on my competency and my relationship with Brooke. He'd turned my daughter's pregnancy into a weapon, Used her natural worries about me living alone as ammunition for his scheme. Dr. Walsh, can I ask you something? Of course, in your professional opinion, what's the most important factor in determining whether someone needs managed care? She launched into a practiced speech about cognitive decline, safety concerns, social isolation, inability to maintain basic activities of daily living. All the buzzwords that would sound authoritative to a concerned daughter, all the clinical language that would justify stripping away an old man's independence. That's interesting, I said. And what would you say if you discovered that the family member pushing for this intervention had financial motives? Say, if they stood to gain significantly from the person's property. There was a pause. Well, that would certainly be concerning. But Mr. Hayes assured me this was purely about your welfare. I'm sure he did. See you tonight, doctor. I hung up and went back to cooking. The roast was browning nicely, and I added the vegetables. Sarah always used carrots, potatoes, onions cut thick enough to hold their shape through long, slow cooking. The kitchen filled with familiar smells, and for a moment I could almost feel her presence beside me, her hand on my shoulder as she tasted the gravy and suggested just a pinch more pepper. At 6:30, I put on my work clothes again, flannel shirt, worn jeans, the boots that had carried me through 3 decades of construction sites. If Trevor wanted to see a poor old construction worker, that's exactly what he'd get, right up until the moment I pulled out my phone and called Kyle Bennett. The doorbell rang at 700 sharp. Through the peephole, I could see Trevor standing on my front porch with 2 people I didn't recognize. A woman in an expensive suit carrying a briefcase, and an older man with the kind of smile that insurance salesmen practice in mirrors. I took one last look around my kitchen, at the pot roast simmering on the stove, at the wedding photo of Sarah and me on the windowsill, at the modest home where I'd chosen to live simply while building an empire that could support my family for generations. Then I opened the door and let my son-in-law walk into the trap he'd spent months preparing for himself. "Nathan," Trevor said, stepping inside with that practiced smile he wore like armor. "Thanks for agreeing to this. I know it's not easy." Behind him came Dr. Walsh, looking exactly like I'd expected. Expensive suit, confident posture, briefcase full of papers designed to strip away an old man's rights. The third person was a surprise, though. Instead of the insurance salesman type I'd been expecting, this was Gerald Hayes, Trevor's father. "Dad," Trevor said, gesturing toward Gerald. "I thought it would be helpful to have family support during this conversation." Family support. Right. More like witnesses to make sure the intervention looked legitimate when they had me declared incompetent. "Please, sit down," I said, gesturing toward the living room. I'd arranged the furniture earlier. 3 chairs facing the couch where I planned to sit. Strategic positioning. In construction, you always want to control the sight lines and escape routes. Dr. Walsh opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "Nathan, I've had a chance to review your situation, and I think senior life transitions can really help you. The facility we've selected has excellent medical care, recreational activities, and most importantly, 24-hour supervision." "Supervision," I repeated, adjusting my wedding ring. "For what?" "Well, living alone at your age, in a house that's clearly becoming difficult to maintain." She gestured around my living room, taking in the worn furniture, the faded carpet, the general appearance of a man who'd been getting by on Social Security and a small pension. Gerald Hayes leaned forward, his voice carrying the authority of a man who'd spent decades in banking before retirement. "Nathan, I know this is hard to hear, but you have to think about what's best for everyone. Brooke is pregnant. She's worried about you constantly, and frankly, this house is more than you can handle." I looked around the room, at the walls I'd framed myself, the electrical work I'd done to code, the plumbing that had never given me a day's trouble in 30 years. "House seems fine to me, but the roof leaks." Trevor jumped in. "The heating system is ancient. The neighborhood's going downhill, Dad. Be realistic about your situation." Dr. Walsh slid a set of papers across the coffee table. "These are just preliminary documents. Nothing binding, just an assessment of your current needs and a basic care plan." I picked up the papers, recognizing them from Dustin's description. Power of attorney forms. Consent for medical treatment. Authorization to sell real property. And buried in the middle, a guardianship petition that would strip away my legal right to make decisions about my own life. "What happens if I don't sign these?" I asked. The 3 of them exchanged glances. Dr. Walsh cleared her throat. "Nathan, Your family has expressed some concerns about your decision-making capacity. If you're unable to recognize what's in your best interest, we'd have to petition the court, Trevor said, his lawyer voice kicking in. Have you evaluated by medical professionals? It's not what anyone wants, but if you're not competent to make these decisions yourself. The threat hung in the air, like dust, after a demolition. They were prepared to have me declared mentally incompetent if I didn't voluntarily surrender everything I'd built. I set the papers back on the table and reached for my phone, the same scratched flip phone I'd carried for years because it worked, and I saw no reason to fix what wasn't broken. Who are you calling? Trevor asked, his confidence wavering slightly. I scrolled through the contacts until I found the number I needed, hit dial, put it on speaker. The phone rang twice before a familiar voice answered. Pierce Holdings, Kyle Bennett speaking. Kyle, it's Nathan. Nathan, how did the meeting go this afternoon? Did you get everything squared away with the legal situation? Trevor's face went through several color changes. Dr. Walsh looked confused, her pen hovering over her notepad. Gerald Hayes was staring at my phone like it might explode. Kyle, I need you to confirm something for our guests here. What's the current value of Pierce Holdings? Well, the last appraisal put us at $1.2 billion, but with the Henderson infrastructure contract and the new projects coming online, we're probably closer to $1.4 billion now. Why? And remind me, what percentage do I own through NP Capital? 51%. You're the majority shareholder, Nathan. Always have been since you founded the company back in '97. The silence in my living room was so complete, I could hear the pot roast simmering in the kitchen. Dr. Walsh's briefcase slipped from her lap and hit the floor with a sound like a gunshot. Gerald Hayes made a noise like air escaping from a punctured tire. But it was Trevor's reaction that told me everything I needed to know about the kind of man my daughter had married. His mouth opened and closed like a fish that had just realized the water had been drained from its tank. Kyle, I continued, what happened with the Hayes? Martinez at Associates contract this afternoon. Terminated, just like you requested. I sent the notice to Trevor Hayes personally. Cited elder abuse, attempted fraud, and breach of professional ethics as the reasons. They're also blacklisted from any future Pierce Holdings business. Trevor shot to his feet, his composure completely shattered. What is this? What the hell is happening here? I stood up slowly, my knees popping from all those years of concrete work, and looked at the man who'd planned to steal my home and destroy my relationship with my daughter. What's happening, Trevor, is that you just tried to defraud the majority shareholder of a $1.2 billion company. You threatened to have me declared incompetent so you could steal my house for a development project. And in the process, you destroyed your own career, and probably your law firm's reputation. Dr. Walsh was frantically shoving papers back into her briefcase. I think there's been a misunderstanding here. I was told this was a legitimate elder care consultation. No misunderstanding, doctor. You were brought here to help commit elder abuse. I'd suggest you leave before I decide to file complaints with the state licensing board. She was out the door within seconds, probably already calculating how fast she could distance herself from this disaster. Gerald Hayes stood up on shaky legs. Nathan, I had no idea. Trevor told us you were having financial difficulties, that you needed help with medical expenses. Your son lied to you, Gerald. Just like he lied to my daughter. Just like he's been lying to everyone while he planned to steal from his own family. That left just Trevor and me, facing each other across my living room while the smell of Sarah's pot roast filled the air with memories of better times, when family meant something more than opportunity for exploitation. Trevor collapsed back into his chair like his strings had been cut. The confident lawyer who'd walked into my house an hour ago was gone, replaced by a man who was watching his entire world crumble in real time. You, he whispered. You're Pierce Holdings. You're the anonymous investor we've been courting for 2 years. Not anonymous, Trevor. Just quiet. There's a difference. I walked over to the mantel where I kept family photos, Sarah and me on our wedding day, Brooke's graduation, the 3 of us at Christmas before cancer took my wife away. For 27 years, Sarah and I built something together. Not just a company, but a legacy that could take care of our family for generations. I picked up the photo of Sarah and me, running my thumb along the frame the way I'd done 1,000 times when I missed her voice, her laugh, her way of seeing the good in people even when they disappointed her. After she died, I could have lived in a mansion, could have bought a yacht, traveled the world, thrown money around like confetti. But Sarah and I agreed when Brooke was little that wealth should be earned, not inherited. We wanted our daughter to understand the value of work, the importance of character over cash. Trevor's face was cycling through emotions like a slot machine. Shock, anger, desperation, calculation. I could see him trying to figure out if there was still a way to salvage this. Still an angle he could work. "Dad, please," he said, and the words sounded like broken glass in his mouth. "I was trying to help. I thought you needed care, needed support. The house is falling apart. You're alone all the time." "The house is fine, Trevor. I built it to last. And I'm not alone. I have neighbors who check on me, friends from work who stop by, a daughter who used to visit every week before you started poisoning her mind against her old man." I sat back down, close enough that he had to look me in the eye. "You want to know what's really falling apart? Your marriage to my daughter. Because she's about to find out that the man she married was willing to destroy her father for money he didn't even need to steal." Trevor tried one more play, leaning forward with his hands clasped like he was praying. "Nathan, you don't understand the pressure I'm under. The law firm is struggling. There are debts, expectations. When I found out about Pierce Holdings, I thought maybe we could work together, as family, work together." I stood up and walked to the kitchen, where Sarah's pot roast was filling the house with the smell of Sunday dinners and better times. "Is that what you call threatening to have me declared incompetent? Planning to steal my house? Using my daughter's pregnancy as leverage?" I came back with the recordings Dustin had provided, setting my phone on the coffee table between us. "I've got hours of this, Trevor. You talking about elder abuse claims, managed care facilities, property development, you planning my destruction like it was just another legal case to win." His face went gray as he recognized his own voice coming from my phone. All the careful planning, all the strategic manipulation, all the lies he'd told Brooke about her father's declining health and financial situation. "How long?" I asked. "How long have you been working on this scheme?" He didn't answer, but I could see it in his eyes. Months. Maybe since the day he'd found out I owned property in a neighborhood that was perfect for development. Maybe since Brooke had mentioned that her father lived simply but seemed to have more money than a retired construction worker should have. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, pulling out a folder that Dustin had prepared earlier. "You're going to sign these divorce papers that give Brooke full custody of the baby and a fair settlement from your assets. You're going to move out of the house next door by the end of the week. And you're going to stay away from both of us unless Brooke specifically asks to see you." "You can't make me sign anything," he said. But his voice had lost all its authority. "Actually, I can, because if you don't, I'll file criminal charges for attempted elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. I'll sue you personally for defamation and emotional distress. And I'll make sure every law firm in the country knows exactly what kind of man Trevor Hayes really is." I opened the folder and showed him the papers. Not just divorce documents, but criminal complaints, civil lawsuits, professional conduct violations. A complete legal demolition that would leave him unemployed, unemployable, and probably facing jail time. "Sign the papers, Trevor. Take what dignity you have left, and disappear from our lives." He signed them with shaking hands, his lawyer training probably telling him it was the best deal he was going to get. When he finished, I walked him to the door. "One more thing," I said as he stepped onto the porch. "If you ever try to contact Brooke or interfere with my relationship with my grandchild, I'll destroy you so completely that you'll wish I'd just had you arrested tonight." The door closed behind him, and suddenly my house felt bigger, cleaner, like the air pressure had normalized after a storm front moved through. 2 hours later, Brooke knocked on my door. She'd been crying, but she also looked relieved in a way I hadn't seen in months. "Dad," she said, "Trevor told me everything. About the company, about his plans, about the intervention tonight. I'm so sorry." I pulled her into a hug, feeling how much she'd grown up in the last few hours. "You don't have anything to apologize for, sweetheart. You married someone you thought you could trust. Why didn't you ever tell me? About the money, about Pierce Holdings?" I led her into the kitchen and served up 2 plates of Sarah's pot roast, the same meal that had brought our family together every Sunday for years. "Your mom and I wanted you to find your own way in the world," I said. "We wanted you to marry someone who loved you for you, not for your inheritance. And Trevor?" Trevor showed me exactly who he was when he thought I couldn't fight back, a man who would threaten his own family for money. 3 months later, I'm sitting on my back porch watching Brooke plant flowers in the garden next door. She moved back after the divorce was finalized, and she's due any day now with my first grandchild. Trevor sends child support checks from Tampa, where he's working for a small firm handling personal injury cases. Turns out when you get blacklisted from corporate law for elder abuse, your career options become pretty limited. But I don't think about Trevor much anymore. These days I'm too busy getting ready to be a grandfather, too busy teaching Brooke about the company she'll inherit someday, too busy planning the nursery I'm going to build for my grandchild in the room that used to be my workshop. Sometimes the most powerful weapon an old construction worker can carry is the truth that people underestimate. They see the work clothes and the modest house and assume they know the whole story. But I learned a long time ago that the most important structures are often the ones you build underground, the foundations that nobody sees but that support everything else above ground. Just like the love that holds a family together, the integrity that defines a man's character, and the wisdom that knows when to stay quiet and when to speak up. Because the strongest foundations are built not with concrete and steel, but with the quiet dignity of living your values every day, even when no one is watching, and especially when someone assumes you're not worth watching at all. In the end, the most dangerous man in any room isn't the one who shows his power, but the one who chooses to hide it until the moment someone mistakes his humility for weakness and threatens the people he loves most.